This is a basic installation video for a Marshall Best Security Mortise lock storeroom function in a door that has already been pre-prepped. Let's start by installing the Mortise lock case by inserting it into the cutout on the side of the door. Next, we will add the screws to the bottom and the top of the case that hold the case in place. It is not necessary to initially tighten down the screws completely. You want to leave a little bit of play in the screws to give the lock a little bit of mobility so that installing the additional components like the spindle and the mortise cylinder that goes at the top on the exterior of the door will be a little bit easier. If you find that the components are binding, you can always loosen the screws additionally to allow for an easier install. Let's go ahead and install these spindles. There are going to be two halves, an interior and an exterior half. The screw that holds the two components together should always go on the inside of the door. Once both halves have been inserted into the case, you'll want to tighten down the screw which will engage the exterior spindle. It's recommended to use a screwdriver for this application to eliminate any risk of over-tightening the screw with a drill. Once you feel the screw is completely engaged, simply check the interior spindle to make sure there's a little bit of play and that there is no binding between the two halves. Let's move on to installing the cylinder. Using your mortise housing tool, begin by threading the cylinder from the exterior into the mortise case. If you look closely, as we rotate the cylinder, you will see on the inside when the cylinder has reached the halfway point of the lock case, allowing the cam to engage the retracting mechanism. Once the cylinder is in the correct position, it is now time to tighten down the set screw that holds the cylinder in place. This set screw will keep that cylinder from rotating when a key is inserted into the lock to activate the latch. You'll notice there are two set screws inside of the mortise case. One is for the exterior cylinder and one is for the interior cylinder. Let's take a look at installing the levers. There will be two through bolts that will intersect the mortise lock case from the exterior to the interior, and these are inserted through the lever rows. You will then install the interior lever, and then using the fasteners provided, you will attach those to the through bolts on the other side of the door. Once you have made sure that the screws are tightened and secure, you can test the door from the inside to make sure it retracts the latch without any binding, and the exterior handle should remain in the locked position. Now we are ready to tighten down the mortise lock case screws by hand and make sure they are snug and tight. Once again, checking to make sure there's no binding on the lever. We can now install the rose cover from the inside. Simply slide it over the lever, attach it to the rose liner, make sure it is on there and snug, and then the same procedure for the exterior rose cover. Make sure it's seated all the way around and snug up against the door. We're ready to now put on the faceplate cover. The last piece of the installation is replacing the old strike plate with the new one provided with the new mortise lock. Be sure that the strike plate is secured tightly. And lastly, check to make sure that the door latches properly. Thank you for watching.